did not do it beyond that point in time. And of course, there was a lot of there was a lot of fun that the kids were having. But I remember as a college student, black kids when I was a college student in the '70s did not go to spring break. My experience with spring break is that because I played baseball, we would take a spring trip in April down to Florida, Daytona, and we would stay on the beach. And at the same time, white kids from white northern universities had flocked onto the beaches, and they were walking around half naked, beer bottles in their hand, cigarettes, marijuana cigarettes in
funny
the other
cigarettes.
hand. Yeah, the funny cigarettes in the other hand, and generally just tearing the town apart. But the merchants loved that time of year, money, and everything was fine. And so that was, I contrasted that with the city, being repressive to these black college students, and I thought I had to do something. Well, to get to the book about it, when they came by to interview me for the podcast, at the end of the podcast, they had packed up, turned off the recorder, was getting ready to walk out the door. Guy says, well, why did you do it? And of course, I give the standard answer because it was a wrong I saw, and I wanted to right it. After they left, I thought about, well, why did you do it? And so that then began a search. I now then decide that I need to tell at least that part of my story. So I start the day before I was born. White doctor comes out, placed my mother in the back seat of his car, drives up to the hospital. The next morning at 10 a.m. I come. And I run it up through 1999. Well, what in the course of researching my family history, I discovered my grandmother's grandfather, 1850, standing on a slave auction block in Hawkinsville, Georgia.
Oh, wow.
Chained next to his brother, right? So in July, and they had heard in the slave quarters that there was a particular planter in the area who was very mean to the enslaved people that he kept in Tennessee. And so that planter began to bid on them. And they said, oh, mister, save your money. We don't like you, and we ain't going to live with you. And so he said, well, that's why I got the bloodhounds. And he won the bid. Took him back to his plant, one of his 3 plantations in the Houston, Pulaski, Dooley County area. He had 3 plantations. They said he owned more slaves in the Middle Georgia area than any other slaveholder.
Oh, wow.
And so 3 days in, they escape. They run into the swamps of Pulaski County down there. They send the bloodhounds in with the slaves who ran the dogs, and they brought them out. On the way back to the plantation, they were able to escape again. This time, they stayed in the swamp for 3 years.
What?
Yes. When they heard that the planter had sold them to another plantation owner, they walked out of the swamp into the middle of downtown Hawkinsville.
How'd they hear?
He sold them in the swamp. He kept going back and forth all 3 years. He was trying to capture them for 3 years. And then he got frustrated in the swamp.
Yo, how did they know that they were sold to somebody else?
They heard the conversation.
Oh, wow. Okay.
They heard the conversation. But they didn't come out until somebody came in and gave them the word that the paper had been filed in court.
Oh, my gosh.
They're smart.
That's amazing.
And we all often think that our people, our ancestors in that period of time, wasn't wise and wasn't, and that they were not, persnickety and knew what was going on. But they were very smart.
Black people got to be smart.
Yes, to survive.
You could not have survived this long and be dumb.
Yes, that's so true.
It's impossible. Because you live off the elements. You create what you have in your surroundings. That's a brain.
Yes, sir.
Stupid people can't do that.
No.
I know people, you put them in a situation and they go, oh, what am I going to do? Black people be like that forever, but they figure a way out.
Figure a way out.
Don't get me started with this.
Hey, man. So those guys come out, and they worked through until up to slavery, through slavery, and after slavery. They accumulated stuff because the guy who bought them, he allowed them to accumulate stuff. That was discarded, and they were good at repairing tools.
And this is your grandfather?
This is my great-great-grandfather, my fourth grandfather.
Okay.
So
in July,
at the point
I asked
when
my
the
wife of
when
29 or 30 years
the
at
North
that point
pulls
in
the
if
troops
I
out of the
could
South,
find a cabin in
Bristol, my uncle,
in
my
Tennessee.
great-great-uncle, he then moves to Colorado.
Okay.
And developed because he feared that when they pulled the troops out, that the Klan they were going to be enslaved again.
Most definitely.
And he didn't want to have that again. So
I know that's right.
So he left the South, went to Colorado, and never came back. Dempsey Clark, stayed there in Hawkinsville. At his death in 1892, I believe, he owned over 500 acres of land, a couple of hundred cattle, 100 horses, and a bunch of farm equipment. So it is. I found him in a newspaper article out of an Ohio paper that was published in 1889. At that time, they said that he was one of the richest men, not richest black man.
I know that's right.
But one of the richest men in the state of Georgia.
I believe it.
And so when I saw that story, well, that's where I got the courage to stand up to the mayor and the governor and the police powers of the state and represent those young people. I didn't know it. I didn't know this story.
But it's in your lineage.
Yes.
It's in your ancestral DNA.
And that's why all of us need to know these stories. Because if you know how bad
if you just know
that
the challenge is you don't know.
You don't know.
So you don't have anything to build off of. It's easy to say, well, my uncle did it, or my father did it, I know I can do it. My grandfather did it, it's possible. But if you don't see that in your history and all you see is just doubt and despair, anger, animosity, that's all you're going to believe is possible.
That's it, yeah.
Now, my question is, whose idea was to keep this story going? Because that is power. Was there any written documentation of it, or people just kept on telling the stories down the line?
What happened is there was a newspaper reporter from St. Louis traveling the South. Okay? And so we're talking in the 1880s. This guy probably was trying to become a Mark Twain. Okay?
Most likely.
So he's going to travel the South and write stories, and he was sending dispatches back to his paper in St. Louis.
Okay.
So he's in Hawkinsville in 1889, and he's talking to a white citizen of Hawkinsville, and then to get the feel of what's taking place. And in the course of the conversation, the white citizen says, "You see that colored man over there?
Okay.
In that surrey, not wagon. And that's surrey. He is one of the richest men in Georgia." And then he goes back and tells the story. And apparently the day that they are standing on the slave auction block, they had been marched in from North Carolina. So they come in off the boat, and they marched. They said 1,000 Negro slaves.
Oh my goodness.
1,000. That's what the newspaper article says. This is not my number.
Yeah.
The newspaper article written in 1889 says that a shipload. So in July,
man, you sound like you said
I asked
something
my
else.
wife of
That was
29
close.
or 30 years at that point.
Arrived in North Carolina.
I could find a cabin in. A ship.
I
got you now.
Ship.
A shipload of Africans arrived on the coast of North Carolina, and were marched all the way to Hawkinsville, Georgia.
Oh my goodness.
And so that's how the story was told, because some enterprising reporter, traveling the Southeast, stops in Hawkinsville, Georgia, and a citizen just happened to tell the truth. That black guy over there is one of the richest man in this state. And then he tells the story of how they were bought and how they hid into the swamp for 3 years, and how they accumulated their wealth during slavery and then after slavery.
What did they do in those 3 years? Do you know what they did?
I'm not sure. I think they lived among the Indians. Now,
So
if you
in
can
July,
picture, if you know where
I asked
Hawkinsville
my
is,
wife,
east of us,
29
or
or 30 years.
What's it
at that
connected
point.
to next to?
If
'Cause I know
could
Hawkinsville, but I
find
don't
a
know.
cabin
you went towards Fort Valley.
Okay. Okay.
Now, beyond, east of it. Back in that day, that swamp probably led all the way back to the Everglades in Florida.
Oh wow.
Okay. And so I would assume that they befriended some Native Americans and learned the herbs and the fruit and the berries that they could eat, for survival. Now, at one point in time, the reporter notes that on one occasion, when they came upon the brothers in the swamp, the brothers shot at them. So they had a gun.
Where'd they get the gun
Where'd they get
from?
the gun? That's the question. And I would think they probably got them from Indians.
Wow.
From the natives who lived in the swamp, and they probably lived in the swamp with the natives. And from reading the article, I sense that Dempsey and Bristol understood that they were captives in this system of slavery. And that there really wasn't much they could do about it. They just didn't want to be mistreated.
Oh my gosh.
They would work and produce for you. They just didn't want to be mistreated in doing that and give you free labor.
Yeah. Right.
So that's my background.
Help me out. Did they write any of what they did in the swamps? Is there any recollection? See, because this is a story. This is a movie. 3 years in the swamp.
3 years.
That's why I would call the name of the movie. 3 years in the swamp.
Yeah.
That's it. And the fact that
I've not seen any written recollection of it, other than it's noted by the townspeople at that time that those guys hid in the swamp for 3 years before they voluntarily walked out of the swamp and went back into slavery.
Oh my gosh, that is so fascinating.
So when I see that, all of a sudden the story just flows.
Wow, that's like hyper impressive.
Oh man,
that's amazing. Wow, yeah. See, those kind of stories need to be told all day long to everybody, and it's just so impactful.
Well,
is it in the book?
It's in the book.
How detailed is it though in the book?
I get very detailed about them, because this guy, my grandmother went to Spelman.
Did she?
She did.
Yeah.
And we talking.
So in July,
early 19.
I asked my wife of
and I always
29 or
wondered,
30 years at that
how
point in time.
did she know?
If I
how
could
did her family
find
know
a
about
cabin
Spelman? From Hawkinsville
in Tennessee,
and Spelman's in Atlanta. Well, as it turns out, because the white citizen in Hawkinsville tells the newspaper reporter that Dempsey sent his daughters away to school. So not only did my grandmother attend Spelman, but her mother attended Spelman.
Okay.
Because her father, Dempsey Clark, sent her to Spelman.
Spelman's a good school.
Yeah.
I went to Fisk.
You went to Fisk?
Yeah.
Okay.
Undergrad, and then went to Howard.
All right.
For grad school. I love the Negroes.
I do too. I went to Tuskegee and I went to Fort Valley for a year.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Sure did.
Yeah. That's impressive. So let's back this up, rewind at the same time. Don't trust a man with 3 names, except this man. This is the only man I probably won't trust who got 3 names in the whole history of 3 named people I can trust with 3 names. Back that up. Number 2, let's talk about the Freaknik lawyer. I like how you colorized the book. This is not an accident.
No, it's not.
Yeah, can you please break down how you made this book stand out just by the colorization?
Well, you got orange.
Is that orange? That's more like a red. It's an orange?
It's an orange.
A orange.
Burnt orange.
Yeah, that orange is burnt.
And the lawyer is
green.
Green.
Yeah.
And the photograph is a black and white.
A black and white. Yeah.
It's red, green, and black.
That's what I was trying to say, but it's more red than orange. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, but that was it should be red. But in all of my books, if you look at all of my books, even the books that I published for other authors, there's an orange in it somewhere.
Okay. What's the orange supposed to be?
I'm not quite sure. Orange was my high school orange.
Okay.
Orange and green was actually my high school
Okay.
colors. But because I had a bad experience in high school, because I integrated the white junior high school here in town, and I had a bad experience, I suppressed the fact that I liked orange.
Interesting.
And a few years ago,
That's deep.
yeah, a few years ago, I said, "Well, wait a minute. All your life, you really liked orange.
Oh
But you
my
won't wear
gosh.
orange because of that bad experience."
It's another book.
There you go.
I really liked orange.
50th anniversary comes up for high school. Anniversary comes up in October.
Because you could talk about, because there's a lot of people that could talk on so many levels. So many people who grow up and who are in abuse situation with their parents, and their parents always made them eat rice.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
So none of them
until
like
they
rice.
say they hate rice.
Yes.
They hate rice, but then they hate to admit, you know what? I kind of really like rice.
Yeah. Right.
But it's also
July,
stems to the fact
I
that
asked my
your
wife
past
of 29 or
is
30 years
continually
at that
to
point in time,
dictate your
if I
future.
could find a cabin.
So
in,
once the fact you got over that,
in Tennessee,
you realize, what the heck? I can like orange.
I like orange.
That's deep. That's
Uh,
deep on so many levels.
And so that was so now I wear orange. I wear orange ties a lot.
All the time. It look good
Okay.
on you.
Thank you.
Yeah, where'd you get the tie from?
Singapore, right?
Really?
So
I
in
knew it was
July,
America. That's why I asked the
I
question.
asked my wife.
I said, that could be an American
29 or
tie, but I
30
know
years
this
at that
man, I
point
don't
in
know this man. I said, this thing ain't from
find
America.
a cabin in
And sure enough,
Singapore. Have a very good friend in Singapore. And,
they send the ties to you specifically?
mhm, yeah.
You a beast.
Oh man. and but in all of my books you'll see there's going to be a tinge of for other people.
Yeah.
It just may be a line because they may not like orange, but that denotes it's a Harvey publication of.
Oh, I got you. Makes sense. Okay, makes sense. Now let's talk about this book.
Okay.
I was reading a little bit about it, and it's not when people see the title, you think you talk about Freaknik, but it's not really all about Freaknik.
Right.
It's about the essence of what you've been through, what you discovered. Plessy versus Ferguson, you talk about that in there,
Yes.
and some other challenges. So what did you want to accomplish with the book?
I sort of see our lives, lives of African Americans, being controlled by several court cases in this country, and we'll start with Plessy. We could start with Dred Scott, where a black person didn't have any rights that a white person bound to respect. That was a Supreme Court ruling by Judge Taney in 1850, I want to say. Okay. But then I come up to, I'll take the Jim Crow legislation of Plessy versus Ferguson, which was decided in 1896. And so like ironically, in 1895, Booker Washington gives this speech that's known as the Atlanta Compromise speech at Piedmont Park in Atlanta. And in that speech he says that the races could be as separate as the 5 fingers on the hand, but as one as the hand.
But one as the hand.
Well, white people never do anything to black people until a black leader gives them the authority to do it. 1 year later, 1 year later, the Supreme Court hands down the Plessy decision, which says that it's okay to have a separate society, dual society. It's okay to have separate facilities for whites and for
So in
blacks.
July,
So I called the
I asked
Plessy
my
case
wife of
the
29
curse
or
of
30 years
Plessy.
at that point in time.
And
If I
I,
could
born
find
in
a
the middle
cabin
of the
in,
20th century, I was born under the curse of Plessy. So through this book, I delve into being born under the curse of Plessy. When I'm about 4 or 5 years old, we get the Brown decision, and Brown versus Topeka Board of Education. In that case, the Supreme Court said to separate them from others of similar age and background may hurt their hearts and minds in ways that is unlikely ever to be undone. And that's what I take away from that ruling. And the case then stood for that this Jim Crow, you could no longer have these dual facilities, that we always had to come to one. So I call that period of my life the promise of Brown. So when I'm 4 years old, I was cursed when I was born. When I'm about 5 years old, I now have this promise of equality. But as we see, we've been struggling with trying to obtain that equality since the first Brown case in 1954.
Question.
Yes, sir.
This is just off the top of my head, but most of these questions are. Do you think the Brown versus Board of Education was a good thing for black people or bad?
At that day, it was a good thing.
It was a good thing.
Yes.
But overall, do you think it was still good?
I think the promise never has been fulfilled. That's the way I look at it. In its essence, it says, and I think I know where you're going in terms of, in that day when we were separate but equal, we had our own businesses, cleaners, theaters, drugstores, doctors, lawyers.
We were forced to
Yes.
depend upon each other.
Our communities were stronger. We educated our children, and our children got educated.
Very educated.
And so, to that extent, we did have an erosion of the good, positive things that was taking place in our community as a result of it. But then, if you look at what the decision was designed to do, it was designed to bring about equality.
Okay.
But it has never done that.
Yeah, and I spoke with an historian before, and he broke the whole thing down. He said from his perspective, it was never meant to bring about equality. It was to increase separation. Because there was a notice of how black people had so much. Black Wall Street, people always, black Georgetown used to be all black.
Right.
And all these things that they had, and they said, we got to figure out how to break this up because they keep on mobilizing and being more and more, and they don't necessarily need us. So we have to create a situation where they
So in
need
July,
us.
I could definitely
I asked
see
my wife
how
of
that could
29 or
possibly
30 years
Yeah.
at that point in time.
He said that's the
I could
overarching. He said
find a
we'll put what
cabin
this is
in,
what it is. This is just him. There's
in
no fact behind this. This is what just his mentality, what he sees. Plus he does all kind of what's the when they study people in the community, anthropology. Yes, yeah, and that's his.
Okay.
I can't say I necessarily disagree with it, but I don't know if I totally agree with it either. But when it breaks it down, there's something there. There's something to it.
Yes, because it definitely separated us in our community.
Yes.
And on the other hand, we've not had that full equality.
Yeah.
So there's and that's what I delve into here.
And I think that's a good point. Will we ever get that full equality is the question.
That is a good question, and I don't have an answer to that.
I thought you had an answer.
We have to keep working.
That
on
orange
it.
tie made me think you had an answer.
We have to work.
So in
it.
July,
Well, here's what I want to say.
I asked my wife
sorry to
of
have dipped out and came
29
back
or
in,
30
but
years
She's
at
a
that point in
dipper.
time.
what I
I could
appreciate about
find a
the work
cabin
you have
in,
done is you try to
in Tennessee.
create a level playing field and some equality. And the reason I say that is when you did that, I call that mastery in the courtroom with that, giving them the example of your baseball experience, that gave them a alternative perspective. So most people don't see themselves as racist. They'll say, "Oh, I got a black friend," or "My cousin is black," whatever. I'm not racist, but this. And so what I appreciate about what you've done is that you allow for people to become more open-minded about their racism. I think it's important for any person to at least recognize that it exists in them, and by doing that you can unfold the layers, and that's what you did. And I don't know if you even see it as that, but you did that by saying, hey, listen, you may not think you're racist, but guess what, I've committed my own sin behind racism, and this is what it looked like. And while that was such a minute example, it shows how impactful that was which is how your friend reacted to it, like, man, you're racist. You probably didn't think nothing of it, and even the other ones who participated didn't think anything of it, but it also put them in a perspective of like, man, why didn't I think it was racist?
Right.
And so when Josh asked the question of the Brown versus Board of Education and could it ever happen, it could happen if people are willing to face that they are racist. We live in a racist country. Black people are racist against each other. We're racist against other races. White people racist against their own people. Racist against other races. But we all act like none of that exists.
Right. Yeah.
We live in such a let's sweep it under the rug and hide it society that we don't even allow for ourselves to be that transparent. And that's what I appreciate about everything that you've done as a lawyer, putting yourself out there. Guess what? Who cares if no one ever had your back? All those lawyers disappeared after they probably said they were going to help you, and all the people you have helped allow for people to see that this man is transparent enough to understand that there is a problem within society when it comes to racism, and he actually tried to address it. You know, that's your legacy. That is so major, because I don't even think a lot of people, even as attorneys, I feel like your phone should be ringing off the hook just because of what you've done. But again, it goes back to how accountable do people want to be held. If I call him, I'm admitting to that, one, the criminal justice system,
So in July,
is racist,
I
that
asked
I'm
my wife
racist,
of
that some of the
29 and
people
30
who are
years
around
at
me
that
are
point in time,
racist. But
if I could find a
instead,
cabin
you may not
in,
even have as many phone calls.
in
Like,
Ten-
people should be calling you as a consultant all the time, if nothing else, to how you portrayed yourself in your second book, to say, hey, listen, this is what's going on. This is the breakdown of the Trayvon Martin and the Jordan case. All these things, people should come to you as an expert all the time to get your insight on how to reverse some of those behaviors, actions, and thought patterns.
Is that what you want? Do you want to be a consultant?
I want to be a writer.
I figured that.
Yeah.
But I will talk to anyone
Yeah.
about any subject that I have some knowledge or expertise on, but I like to express myself through the written word. But I'm available. I mean, I've mentored a lot of, I guess 20 years ago they would have been young lawyers. I guess they're probably as old as I was when I stopped practicing now. But and I enjoyed doing that, you know. But yeah, no, I want to write what I see about legal and political issues, and also sports. I still write a great deal about baseball because
You love baseball
I
still?
love baseball. Yeah.
It's dying.
I don't know. This is actually been an exciting year in Major League Baseball.
It's been exciting, but if you look at the numbers, hockey and baseball numbers are dropping every day.
Well, yeah, you got a point there.
Every day. And it's hard to even point to a baseball stadium that is sold out every single night. It's really
Well, every
difficult.
single night, yeah. I was in Yankee Stadium a couple of weeks ago.
Empty.
No,
No, it wasn't empty.
it was full.
Yeah. Well,
Well,
Yankee
Yankees
Stadium
are-
kind of,
Yeah, it has that mystique.
Yankees,
and Red
Boston,
Sox, Boston, Chicago.
Yeah, Chicago. You know, they
Um,
always going to have whatever because they make that a top priority.
Yeah, but you take, I guess, a team in Toronto Toronto, and you take some of
the Blue Jays.
Yeah, the Blue Jays, the Oakland franchise. Yeah, they're not filling up those.
Yeah, it's a bunch of them that's not. And the challenge is, I think, it takes too long.
It is a long game.
It's like 4 hours sometimes. You do know in other countries, they play 3 games in one place. Japan, Korea, the games only last an hour long. And they quick, they fast, they whatever, and people love them. But America got to put all these commercials in, all these advertisements. They take 10 minutes to warm up, take 3 minutes to throw 3 pitches. I mean, come on. I play baseball too. I was a pitcher.
Okay.
It don't take that long to throw the ball.
Right.
Yeah, they prepping, they looking, but it just takes so long.
And that's why the Japanese game is quicker, because they don't, they get the thing and then.
Yep, and it just goes like that. The game lasts an hour.
You're right. It's the commercial. It's the commercialization
Yeah.
of the game that act. You know, the MLB is trying to do things on the field to speed up the action, but that's not what the problem is.
But
The problem is trying to get the revenue.
Yeah, and the challenge is, as Chris Rock said this,
Right.
he said,
So in
ain't no
July,
black people in it.
I asked my
He
wife.
said, you want to be fun, but ask some
29
more
or
black
30 years
folks.
At that point in time.
He said, black
If
people
I
bring
could
all the fun,
find a
bring all the
cabin
energy.
in,
You know, well, ain't no
in
black people ain't gonna be
Kennedy.
no good. Plus, you gotta understand, we in this different kind of society now. Everybody on their phones. We ain't got all day. Ain't nobody gonna waste 4 hours.
To see what the
Ain't no
outcome is.
baseball game.
Well, you know, I'll still do it.
Yeah,
But,
of course you
yeah,
will. Yeah, but see, those kind of people like you are like fading
There
away.
you go. Yeah.
The interest is moving.
So I don't know where the game is going to go. They're trying to, you know, MLB is planning to play the game in London. This
Yeah, they
past
do.
year.
They trying to do everything they
They're
can.
going to play a game at the
They always
Field of
backward.
Dreams this coming
They're
year.
so late on everything. They're not even up with the technology. They just started doing the cameras for the lines.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah, they thinking about taking umpires out.
that'd be a mistake.
I wouldn't be surprised if it happened.
I wouldn't either.
Yeah,
And the replay, some of the
it just makes the game even longer.
yeah.
Yeah, don't get me started. Go ahead, Jessica.
But anyway,
Well, we'll wrap up on this. If there are some things that you want to share with the viewers here, so the podcast is both audio and video, and so if there's something that you want to share with anybody that's listening or watching, what will be that one thing?
oh my! Well, I tell
Or
you.
multiple things if you like. Today's your day.
well, one of the
Today
things.
is your day.
One of the things I would like for you to know is that I have really enjoyed
So in July,
sitting here on this couch
I asked my
and
wife.
engaging in a
of
conversation
29
that
or 30 years. at that
you
point in time.
out there in
If I
audio
could
land and,
find a
and
cabin
visual
in,
land can listen
in
to and see, and hopefully that you have enjoyed the dialogue and the conversation. It's sort of be like sitting in my family room having a chat with two of my best friends.
Awesome.
So I've
Well, we
had
only
a
one
good
of us
time.
your best friend. You ain't got.
That would be the first Jay. I know.
I am the first Jay. So, that was easy.
These J's are who I tell you.
Well, we appreciate hearing that. We thank you deeply and thoroughly for being on here, sharing your history. You know, you opened up in a way that sometimes I don't think our people, our visitors want to be that transparent. And we appreciate that because we want to know who you are. We want to know what you've done. And the viewers are going to appreciate it because it's like they've heard of you, but probably never even met you before or anything. So this is major, major, major stuff right here. And thank you so much for being on the show today.
Well, thank you. And go get the book.
You
Freaknik
can talk.
Lawyer.
He just
Freaknik Lawyer.
his,
a memoir on the craft.
his,
of
George Crawley over here in
his
the
publisher
corner.
is whispering.
Come on around here. Look.
This ain't no normal kind of thing we do over here.
You sit
We
right
got
here.
dancing polar bears.
Oh my goodness.
I know that seat warm now.
Yeah, the seat's nice and warm.
Don't worry, I got your back.
Y'all
We don't want you to get that far back.
This has been a great day.
Yeah, don't forget to tell people to buy the book.
That's right. Buy the book.
Where can they buy it at?
You can buy it on my blog, HaroldMichaelHarvey.com. That's the three names now.
HaroldMichaelHarvey.com. The only.
Now, if you're in Macon, Georgia, you could get it at the Tubman Museum,
Oh, really?
or you could get it at the Golden Bough bookstore down on 2nd Street. And of course, when you buy the book at the Tubman Museum, you do two things. You help the author, but more importantly, you help the Tubman to stay open and to be able to provide the program.
How much are the books?
Books? $25.
Not
How many-
bad at all.
How many books they got down there?
They've got about 10 books now.
10? If I could, I'd buy all of them.
Oh, wow.
Just buy one.
I want to buy. I'll see if I can buy all of them.
Okay.
We appreciate you.
Yeah.
I'll leave them another 10 then today.
Yeah, I'll make sure I buy one though for sure.
No, all of them.
Go on, you said
I thought I'm
all
gonna
of-
try to buy all of them.
Too late.
You know, I got kids.
Oh, good.
That's not true. That is not true.
You
I,
got kids?
I ain't got no
You
kids.
got no
Thank
kids?
goodness.
Oh, man. You got to have some kids.
I love. Why I gotta do that? What's the point of that,
You got to pass it on.
man? Conversation.
Another
yeah.
one of you? No.
Yeah, no. I love children.
Yeah.
I work with them all the time. They're the most amazing little people in the world. But they got to go home.
Well, that is true.
Yeah.
You got nieces and nephews?
I do. I got a niece. I got a nephew now. I just got one.
Oh, he's
Yeah,
okay, he's
18 months, 17 months.
okay.
Yeah, yeah.
When he gets older, he's gonna be the best thing in the world.
For who? For him?
Yeah,
For my
no,
brother?
No, just for you when you have him, and then when he's finished with him, you just pass him on.
Just like that.
Yeah.
That's not gonna happen. I like how you're wishful thinking. Yeah, you sat down here and gave the wrong information. You could have been sitting over there and did this.
What about the Douglas Theater?
Oh yes, September 21st at the historic Douglas Theater. We'll have a book signing here in Macon, Georgia, at 6 o'clock from 6 to 10. It's a wine and sign, so you don't have to pay for the wine. It's complimentary.
They can get drunk for free?
They can get drunk for free,
Oh, man.
and an autographed copy. And an autographed copy of Freaknik Lawyer, a memoir on the craft of resistance.
But you gotta buy the book. How much is the event?
It's free.
It's
Okay,
free.
but you gotta buy the book though to
I
get
would
the
hope
They
that
alcohol.
you would.
encourage you to buy the book
Yeah.
and enjoy a little wine, a little food.
Do they drink and then read, or read and then drink?
However you want to do it.
Somebody say if they drink, they ain't gonna read. I ain't say that. I grew up in a family of alcoholics on this side and drunks on this one.
Oh,
Well, you know, you
Lord,
can
preachers and teachers.
You can take the you can take the book home and read it the next
Yeah, but don't drink and drive, and then try to
read the
read.
book. And that's
Yeah, and be texted. Y'all be doing that around here, I heard.
yeah.
I don't know that.
I don't know.
Yeah, well, we thoroughly appreciate you.
Oh, God bless you.
Thank you so much. This has been amazing.
Thank you for having
This is your intellectual integrity is so insightful.
me. So in
It is
July,
necessary,
I asked
and your
my wife
story
of
should
29
always
or
be
30
told.
years at that
He's
point in
just
time.
beginning.
If
If
really,
I could
Yes.
find a cabin.
I'm gonna help you out. I'm gonna give you this. This is my brain only works for
Intent-
good people, so you must be good people. You could actually do a one-man show and just talk about different things that happen in your life for an hour. Do it. Well, I'm gonna help you out. Do it for 40 minutes. Have questions. People ask you questions and sell the book.
Cool.
Yeah.
Get you a stool, put it on the stage and a microphone, and just talk about who you are. And bam, you can do that.
I'll do that.
Yeah,
That's a good idea.
yeah.
That's a good thing.
Then you go around the schools. You can go around to I mean, there's a bunch of stuff you can do. But it's your publicist. He can make all that happen. God dang it! I need me a publicist. Appreciate it, sir.
Yeah,
thank you
you.
so much.
Thank you.
Jessica, say something to these nice people.
Thank you, guys. No, you're good. You're
Okay.
good. I'll step in here. Listen, guys, make sure y'all support them.
Put your head
Buy
down
this
lower.
Book.
Put your
Make
head down
sure you're
lower.
at the Douglas
They
Theater
can't see
on
you.
921.
They can't see you.
Definitely
Now they
Harriet
can.
Tubman Museum. Make sure y'all go there to purchase the book and make sure
I
y'all
lower.
support them.
Go- Now kiss him in
okay?
his head.
Oh my God.
That's why I deal with
I
all
feel
the
so
time.
blessed.
So if you watch this show, y'all know that I deal
Did her
with this
tongue
all
come
the
out?
time
Did
with
her
him.
tongue come out?
Trouble.
I am
Nothing
blessed.
but trouble. But make sure if y'all have questions, concerns, if y'all want to reach out to him, send us the email omjjpodcast@gmail.com. Look us up on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube.
OMJJ
OMJJ
podcast.
Podcast. All one word. Okay, guys? Thanks for listening and watching. Take care.
Take
Thank
care.
you. Take care. Bye bye.
Peace.
Excellent.
Oh man,
That was wonderful.
Thank you.
Was that the best interview you ever had in your
I
life?
believe it was. In terms of
Take Josh on the road with y'all.
the question.
White man now.